Here under the Jordanian government. This was part of Jordan then, and he found a whole bunch of stuff in this case. They found, first of all, they found stuff that goes way before Bar Kokhba, way before the Dead Sea Scrolls, going back to the Catholic period, which is like 4,000 BC. But there's little odds and ends. But the most important thing they found was a whole bunch of scrolls. They actually found something like 170 different pieces of scrolls. Okay, some of them were tiny fragments. They found parts of Sefer Bereshit, Shemot, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. They found a big section of Yeshayahu, and those were all pieces. Don't imagine the whole thing. Those are pieces. But the most complete scroll they found was the Treasar, the 12 minor prophets. They found like 10 of them were complete, which is pretty amazing. And these scrolls dated to about there's a big debate as to when the scrolls dated to. The one that Treasar dated to the time of King Herod. So it was before the destruction of the temple. Now, Bar Kokhba. Now you know that in the year 70 the temple was destroyed at the end of the Great Revolt, where the Jews fought against the might of the Roman army and lost. 60-some years later, the Jews did it again. When the Jews did it again, this time they were a little more careful. The problem, though, is that we have very little information about this second revolt. By the way, the way I learned to keep the straight mind mnemonic is either the first revolt and the second revolt. Bar Kokhba has two words. That's the second revolt. Okay? So, the second revolt, we do not have the luxury of having a Jewish historian who wrote the whole story, like we have for the first revolt. We have Josephus. For the second revolt, the only written sources we have to rely on are some rather anti-Semitic accounts by some of the church fathers, by Eusebius, and the Roman historian Cassius writes a little bit. He's actually the only one who mentions the name Bar Kokhba. It's Eusebius who mentions Bar Kokhba. He means the son of a star. Yes, much later. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's like the 4th century. So, what we know is this. We know that there was a revolt. We know that the Romans brought in massive amounts of troops. We know the Romans had large casualties. The Roman 12th Legion was almost wiped out. It was disbanded after the war. There were tremendous casualties. On the Jewish side, there were enormous casualties. The Romans brought in a general named Severus from Britain, who had experience in putting down revolts. And he used a scorched earth policy. He basically would pick a village, surround it, not let any food or water until they surrendered, then kill everyone and move on. The Talmud says that there were millions of casualties, which is probably overstated. Cassius, the Roman historian, says that there were like 680,000 Jewish casualties. So the country was really devastated as a result of this revolt. After Bar Kokhba, things changed, and it was only, and Bavel became the real center of Judaism, and it was only much later, a millennium later, when you had places like Tzfat sort of becoming, very important Jewishly in terms of population and scholarship. That was way north here. But yes, you're right. That was the only place. That was why it thrived there, because all Judea was wiped out. And the Golan and the Galil were doing better. Now, in this cave, they found a bunch of letters. By the way, some of the documents were scrolls, some was on parchment, and some were papyrus. Papyrus. You know what papyrus is, right? Papyrus is it's a kind of paper made from a kind of reed. You weave it together to form a kind of paper. It was used in ancient Egypt. It was in some areas I guess it was cheaper than parchment, but it lasts in a dry climate like this. Both parchment and papyrus last for a very long time. One of the pieces of papyrus is apparently the oldest piece of writing ever found in this country. It was else wrote something different on it. Anyway, down to the scrolls, the Bar Kokhba document. They found in this cave, Devo found in this cave, letters that referred to Bar Kokhba by name, what was called Kokhba. Okay, now, you have to understand the play on meaning here. Bar Kokhba means son of a star. Okay, he's been sent by God to redeem us and to bring the Messiah. Okay, son of the star. Rabbi Akiva refers to him as being the Mashiach. Okay, although there's all kinds of debate about that. But in many sources, it refers to as Koziba, which means from Koziv, meaning the false. Bar Koziba, yeah, meaning the false. So it all depends on your perspective. Now, the letters found in this cave, some of them, most of them, there wasn't too much to read, but you could read the beginning. So, for example, one of them had a date. It said the 21st of the month of Tishrei was today. Today's the 18th. Okay, so 3 days off. But they found a document here dated 21st of Tishrei in the 3rd year of the liberation of Jerusalem. And people said, wow, we have here hard evidence that Bar Kokhba, that his revolt lasted at least 3 years, and that he liberated Jerusalem. Okay, the problem is, according to this article I was reading, it said, but there's something very strange. We have found thousands and thousands of ancient coins in this country. Many of them were minted by Bar Kokhba. The way Bar Kokhba minted coins was they took Roman coins and sort of redid them and put them in like a press and re-stamped them with what they wanted to do. Okay? They recycled the coins. And many of the Bar Kokhba coins have been found. But according to an article that was referenced in the book, there was some article by some guy named D.T. Ariel, who had done a survey. So you didn't know, D.T. Ariel standing right here. According to the survey, there was something, I don't remember the numbers, like 23,000 coins, but there were altogether 3 Bar Kokhba coins found in Yerushalayim. How could there only be 3 Bar Kokhba coins found in Yerushalayim if he had in fact liberated the capital? Okay, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, with this information, then people went back and looked at these documents and said, wait a minute, but how could it say the 3rd year of liberation of Jerusalem on the 21st of Tishrei? There were all kinds of other complications why it could not be, but the final proof was they took a piece of the parchment and they did. Oh, okay, that's fine. They took a piece of the parchment and did carbon-14 dating analysis, and the most recent possible year for when the parchment was written was in the year 78. In other words, they were from the first revolt. So the same cave that someone went to was used not only by the Bar Kokhba fighters to hide out, but also from the first revolt, hiding out from the Roman soldiers. No. The ones that mentioned because the ones that mentioned him were not the one that had this date. Okay, sweet. Tell more.
Well, gosh, you said everything.